Hi, everybody. It's Alex here with Technology Executives Club. I'm really happy to introduce you to my friend and newest board of advisor member, Scott Upp, CEO and founder of a company called CoSourcing Partners. Hi, Scott.
Hey, Alex. Good morning. How are you today?
Good, good. I really appreciate, first of all, joining the organization and becoming part of the board just to share your wisdom, but also great to see you.
Likewise. Thanks for having me this morning.
Yeah, it's great.
Good to be part of the organization.
Yeah, it's good, good. And, I have to say, Scott, do you think you could pick a hotter area to work in?
Automation and people. Yeah, it's the hot spot.
It sure is. And I probably should give everybody a little heads up. Scott runs this company called CoSourcing Partners, and they have a theme called adaptability and bridging the AI IT talent gap. And I'll just net it out. If I say it wrong, just correct me for the net. But basically, you started off as this specialized staffing company, and now you do full automation and AI work, and you really are specialized in this whole area of AI talent, as well as projects to get these really talented people to help companies.
Yeah, we're literally at the intersection of people and automation. What started out 14 years ago as a IT staffing and consulting firm has really blossomed, and we've turned the corner from a tactical firm to a solutions firm, and that feat was pretty difficult to make, but we made it. We've got two different revenue streams here, and one business complements the other. It's we're pretty lucky.
That is really interesting, and we'll get into that story. Maybe you share kind of how you made that pivot. What I like to do is start a little with your background, and then we'll jump into some of the lessons learned, and then maybe talk about how you kind of discovered this area that you're really passionate about now. Not just you, the team that you've assembled, because when I look at your site, and you got some rock stars working with you. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that sounds great. Sounds great.
Okay. All right, good. Well, let's get started then.
All
So
right.
you've got this company, CoSourcing Partners, now today, but when I look at your background, it's really actually quite interesting. I like to start actually in the roots. You went to Holy Cross in college, which I think is awesome. I see a lot of people have that kind of background. You were in business communications. You did real well with that, I can see. And you also got executive education from both the University of British Columbia in sales management, and then you also went to Northwestern. And I know I've looked at this program myself. They have an executive education program in mastering sales. So
Yeah, we're always about refining our sales process.
yeah, so that obviously that helped. That's very interesting. So, but really, your career is pretty much when I look at it, you worked in another company called Up Technology, and I think you shared with me that's the family business. And then you did that for a little 10 and a half years. And I think from talking to you earlier, you had some great successes there. And I was raised in an entrepreneurial family. My sons work for me. I work for my dad. And, so I get it. I get a lot of the things that you go through. But and then you founded, which were co-sourcing partners. So let's talk about a little, just for a minute, about your background with the Up Technology, because I know you had some great successes there early on, right?
We did, yeah. Like yourself, Alex, I too come from an entrepreneurial background, a family background.
Yeah.
I spent a good decade working alongside my father and learning that side of the business. Um, was really responsible for business growth, business development,
Oh,
go-to market strategy, and all of those lessons I learned there really, I think, prepared me for, you know, the journey that I've been on, thus far. So, today we're celebrating 14 years in business under the same operating name. We accept no venture capital. We're debt-free. What started off as a strategic consulting business focused on healthcare has really blossomed into an automation solutions organization. And as such, we've automated everything in our small business, including parts of the recruitment process, including parts of the new logo sales development process, including the marketing process, and having these automations come back and look at all of the engagement. And every Monday, I get a report in my leadership meeting that shows me all of the people that my salespeople can reach out to, because we know that they're looking at our information, they're looking at our social media, they're looking at our email, our website. Um, and so, yeah, the business has really grown and evolved over the past 14 years.
Now, you pack, I know from talking to you, you pack so much into a sentence. You said a lot there, and I'm going to get back to it, but I want to get, when you were at your family business right before you made the transition, I know what that feels like. But what I really admire with you is that you had some strong successes there and you were able to successfully launch your own company. Now, I know a lot of people aren't able to do that. So, in terms of your lesson learned from doing that, how did you make that transition to say, okay, I love my family, family's family, but I'm going to go off and pave my own way? How did you do that? Because you've been successful at that.
I think the easy answer to that, Alex, is that an opportunity presented itself. It's only natural for a person to grow,
Yeah,
and that opportunity that presented itself was one that you know was an opportunity for me to go out and do my own.
that's great.
And so with little money and little much of anything, really, ambition and a
Yeah.
can-do attitude, one thing led to another, and I'm a big believer that success breeds success breeds success.
That's a great. I love that you said that because I agree with that too. And you obviously have tenacity, and you not only were you what I heard there was not only sales but go to market strategy. And when I talk to you, you always say go to market type statements. So I think those little insights right there are some good lessons learned to know why you're continuing to be successful and you're tuning and you're adapting. So it ties in with your theme of adaptability. So I think that's great. Now let's jump into your company now. Tell us a story again, a little slower, like you were doing healthcare and then how did you evolve into more of the machine learning and how that process came about?
It's quite simple. Our customers were coming to us looking for automation people, and those skill sets were very difficult to find. And in 2016, 2017, we started to ramp up on some automation projects, and we recognized real early that our margins were almost double on those types of people. And
Oh,
so the board of advisors that I worked with said, Scott, you got to focus on this core piece of business. And we made some investments. We brought in a leader from Hewlett Packard Shared Services Division, and
uh-huh.
she built the advisory practice, the discovery practice.
Oh,
We then went back to the board and brought in a board member who's actually leading our sales efforts, our go-to-market sales efforts in the automation practice today. And um, and as a result of that, UiPath would come to us and say, "Hey, thanks for referring this business.
yeah.
Would you like to sell software?" And we said no. We would refer more business, and they said, "Hey, would you like to sell software?" And we would say no.
Right.
Um, and so they finally said, "Hey, we'd like to write a business plan that's supported by our business leadership and our technical leadership, and this is how we would like, you to consider working with us." And essentially, they were using us as an extension of their strategic extension of their sales organization, um, to talk with leadership, to talk about a digital transformation, to talk about that journey of how we begin and what that looks like. So the business is a little bit more complex and a little bit mature than where we started. And the transition from staffing to the implementation side is just what we've talked about.
Yeah.
We're staffing these people. We recognize that we were making more money on this select type of skill set. We started to focus in on that. In order to get more of those customers, we thought, well, why don't we start doing the implementation ourselves? Um, the business grew over 500% when we became partners with UiPath.
Wow.
Um, and we've expanded. We're also now a Microsoft Cloud Solutions partner to give our customers complementary solutions and real strategic roadmaps to help these leaders go back to their board of directors, to go back to their management and say,
Yeah.
this is how we're going to do this. This is our plan. And um, we're very lucky in that process. While doing all that, we automated everything in our business. We have a tool that we call Polaris AI. Um, Polaris is our internal sales and recruiting and marketing platform
That's incredible.
that
Yeah.
allows us to get about 150% more productivity and activity per week per sales individual. And so, as a small business, we have 6 salespeople, including myself. We get roughly 480 hours more a week of sales and productivity. So multiply that, by a month, it's somewhere around 2,500 hours. Multiply that over a year. For us, it's the equivalent of having about another 12 salespeople doing that type of work. So going back to dog food, yeah, we truly eat our own dog food.
You know what? That is such a great message because, and I'm going to get to your customers here in a second, the kinds of problems that you solve for them. But the fact that you are using these tools to solve your own problems and just listening to you, even in that quick soundbite, you just spin out these numbers like this is what this is worth to us. I mean, you, Scott, you get it. You really get the value of these tools
Well,
and how it
and
can
so
change,
let's
how it can transform. You talk about transformation, how it can transform a business.
and let's talk about that for just a quick moment because we talk about adaptability, we talked about bridging the
Yeah,
AI and the IT talent gap. If we just take a moment and we talk about the recruiting piece,
yeah,
our automations allow us to recruit 76% faster than traditional recruiting firms, period. And
yeah.
and and
Wow.
it's matter of fact because it's running through the platform, and the data and the reporting that we get tells me that I can not only do it 76% faster, but I can guarantee my customer a placement in 10 days when they follow our process. So talk about speed to market, talk about
Wow.
filling and bringing in resources. And we're not just these resources are either being relocated to hometown wherever these customers are, or we're working some type of hybrid arrangement out. Um, we have certain customers that require that they can only work with the US citizen.
Yeah,
Our Polaris tool will go out and help us communicate to US citizens with security clearance, and the degree of difficulty gets harder and harder. And the harder degree of difficulty, the easier the automations are for us to pull the information out. So pretty
that's
cool.
great. It is super cool. So yeah, I'm looking at your site. You have Polaris, which is the tool you've created, the automation system. It's probably a better phrase
The
that
platform.
the AI automation platform that you've created. You use it for sales and you use it for staffing. That's incredible. And then you also have services around. You have a whole host of advisory enablement services, process identification, process assessment. I'm not going to read everything, but automation of service, governance, the whole thing. So you really have made that shift. It's really interesting lesson here is you kept in terms of lessons learned, you started listening to the customer. You listened to, you didn't start, you listened to your customers. You said this is where our focus should be, and you shifted. You were adaptable, which is your theme. You were adaptable, you shifted towards where the real need was, and then you started to use your own tools and your own services to serve these people better as an entity. That's pretty amazing story, Scott.
Yeah. Yeah, we've that whole infrastructure side, we've invested in SOC 2 compliant data center to
Yeah.
allow us to connect safely and securely into our enterprise customers. We have a full Microsoft Stack SQL database that powers our UiPath automation platform. Um, and you mentioned this earlier, we're now able to offer our customers automation as a service.
As a service, yeah.
We're able to offer them hosting and really able to customize these digital transformation journeys for not just large enterprise customers, and we have very large enterprise customers,
Oh,
but how
interesting.
about for the small guys, for us? Because that it's expensive, and so we're reinventing the wheel to make it more affordable for smaller guys like you and I to be able to have our own digital transformation journey. And Polaris is just our example of what we've been able to do.
You've got so many opportunities here from this core that you've already built. It'll be interesting to watch your journey. So, in terms of, let's talk about common, you're welcome. In terms of about common problems, when you see customers, what are sort of your profiles? Here's the one or two profiles that we see in some of their common problems that you're seeing out there.
I think that some of those common problems that we see most businesses struggle with is certainly locating AI of development talent. And so we have a number of strategic customers that have hired us to leverage the Polaris platform just to source generative AI Python developers with LangChain. And these developers can come in and build end-to-end AI systems within a system.
Yeah.
Um, and so, without having the right skill sets, this talent gap can hinder our customers' ability to implement these advanced automations as well as these AI solutions. So this gap was a major barrier, and we've just
Oh,
taken lessons that we've learned, we've identified, and we sought to build a bridge through that, and enter Polaris.
I
It's
get it. I
Yeah,
see
integrated
what you
staffing
did.
and recruitment
So,
models.
so you said, here's the problem. All these companies are doing this advanced automation, but it has, in many cases, specific requirements. Could be that the person for defense, it's got to be a U.S. citizen. It's got to have this clearance, that kind of thing. Or it's got to be this technology, that kind of thing. So you have these very specific requirements, which means that it's hard to find these people. You created these systems. Now I get why you did this. Yeah, you
It's one
created Polaris.
platform.
Right. You did it for initially for the staffing, and then you also did it for yourself, for sales. But you did it to solve your customer problem, and that's how you're able to do that. You said it's a guarantee. You can help them find someone in 10. That's amazing. 10 days?
Yeah, when they follow our process, the data that we run through our automation platform suggests they can get their people in 10 days and sometimes less when they follow our process. Yeah.
That's a pretty impressive statement. You
Our
built a
customers,
system. You
yeah, our
built,
customers enjoy working with us.
yeah,
It's one of the things that helps us differentiate ourselves in the market, and it's really helped us, with our mission. And, I go back to the founding of when we started, and, our mission was really to provide specialized staffing solutions. And, in hindsight, I look back as we grew,
yeah,
we definitely saw the potential in these automation technologies, not just for the customers, but like you said, for ourselves. And so, when we pivoted from staffing with that focus on the AI solution side,
yeah,
that strategic shift really enabled us to partner not only with industry leaders like UiPath, but also with Microsoft.
yeah.
Most recently, we just became partner with Microsoft, and
That's
again, our
great.
testament to serving not just enterprise customers, but also commercial and smaller customers as well.
If I'm watching this and I'm the CIO of a manufacturing company and it's a, second generation, $100 million company. I imagine they're a good target for you as well as obviously the Ford Motor type of companies.
That's so we have, like I said, we have customers that are large, medium, and small.
Okay.
And really our sweet spot for co-sourcing are really about $1 billion in revenue, and these are primarily healthcare centric type
Oh,
entities, payers, providers, pharmacy benefit managers, integrated delivery networks. Um, and
makes
that has
sense.
been the focus on the staffing side. But on the AI solution side, like, we have this whole other business, right?
Right.
We specialize in full suite hyper automation, leadership expertise, um, um, IPA, document understanding, communication mining. You highlighted all of these services, and with those customers, we're really able to break the barrier of it doesn't really matter what their size
Doesn't
is.
matter.
They need a strategic roadmap. They need leadership. They need direction on how to start, where to
Uh,
start, what use cases to look at. Um, that's that whole other side of our business. Just it's incestuous. They really both feed each other, and they both complement one another as well. So when we pick up a customer on the automation side, it's real easy to knock on the door and say, hey, you're working with us strategically over here. We have this tool, we have this product, and we help strategic sourcing, we help procurement, we help your application managers build out these teams, and we can do it quicker, faster, better than our competition. Um, and typically, that introduction is made quite easily. The other side of that is that we're in these billion-dollar health plans, and we say, hey, we're doing all these strategic sourcing initiatives for you. Would you like to talk to our automation team? Would you like
yeah,
to talk to about what we're doing with some of our other customers and how we're building these solutions and rolling them out and helping our customers transform their digital journey? It's
that's
quite exciting.
it's super exciting. I could talk to you for hours about this.
Alex, for example, let me share a quick story with you.
Okay.
For example, on the automation side, we're working with $1 billion health plan in the upper Midwest, and they've come to us and they've said, hey, we'd like to explore an automation journey. Can you help us select tools? Can you help us with use cases? And so in this particular case, this business wanted to start in appeals and grievances, which is their business unit,
Yeah.
which is a lot of people, a lot of time, a lot of manual process. And what we did there is we looked at a whole bunch of different KPIs and metrics that were important to their business, understanding soft savings versus hard savings, and really understanding what they were looking to get out of their journey. And so that process, was about 8 weeks, and we met with their leadership and we sat down with them and we understood the challenges that they were talking about and the outcomes that they were looking to achieve. And, through that process, we were able to give them a strategic roadmap that identified the top 10 processes within the grievance and appeals department. There were a lot more than 10, but we
Uh-huh.
identified the top 10 based upon complexity, based upon return on investment. We're able to then go back to that customer um, and show them the list and say, this is where we would start. And so we allow that customer to go back and talk amongst themselves. They ask about tools. This is a great example of where both the UiPath Enterprise platform
Yeah.
and Microsoft Cloud Solutions are complementary to each other.
Oh,
And so in this particular use case, it was decided that a lot of the lower level automations that weren't complex were better suited for the Microsoft Power Platform. And the reason for it is that the return on investment wasn't as greater as some of the more complex use cases that required automation. And so for those more complex automations, they then selected the UiPath Business Automation platform to run those. So in this case, they're actually complementary platforms that are running simultaneously, running parallel in the same environment. And
Yep.
that's an example of where we're able to give one customer both a benefit of running smaller, more less ROI type automations, and then also giving them the platform to run high ROI
Oh,
automations that are driving the hard savings back to the business to say, this is why we're automating these processes because we are having our people focus on more important work today than responding to checks and balances that have to be done because it's a regulated business.
yeah. God, that's such a
So
great story.
Alex,
Lucian.
let me say one last thing. Now,
Yeah,
the other
please.
side of that is that the customer now comes back and says, we need a small team of people to help with this development. Can you help us? And of course, that's our core business.
That's
So
your core business.
so
Yeah.
we can, yeah. So we see that they like our help, that they want to do it, that we can step in, we can step off. So it's been a great journey. I'm
That's such a,
super excited.
yeah, you should be. So that's a great story. That's a client that said, hey, help us do this whole thing. What are the other entry points? It sounds like someone could just come to you and say, hey, we need somebody to help us with, like, what do they usually say when they say that? We need someone to help us get somebody to do what? What do they say to you?
Well, they don't. Every customer is different. Every automation is uniquely independent. There are use cases that are applicable to
Yes.
industry, but when our customers come to us, it's very narrow focused. It's very specialized to their business. We have a
Oh, I
small
see.
energy company here in Oak Brook that we're working with. Um, and they do a lot of, again, they have to go out and they have to physically listen to recordings for regulation, and they have to make sure that their salespeople aren't saying certain things. That was something that was really unique to them, and they wanted to automate that process. We've built them an automation that can go in and not
And listen,
only and listen, but read the transcripts and look for certain words, and if there's a red flag to throw on the field, that's what the robot will do. And we can do this now in seconds versus days.
that's great. Was that like a Medicare supplement thing or something like that where they had to record it?
No, that was not even healthcare. That was an energy
Oh, it was
business
an,
here.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it was an
It's
energy
just,
business.
yeah,
So,
just second
but I
example.
know that there's a lot of regulations that involve selling certain things where you have to record it. So that's a great use case. So, so if you've got what I'm hearing is if you got a staffing need that says, hey, we're going to do automation, we're going to do AI, call you, right? That's number one. Number two is if you just need advice and wisdom, like, how do we do this? And in that bigger case, what you said was you not only gave them the how to, you also gave them the what to. So you kind of analyzed all their processes first and said, here's where you're going to get your biggest return on investment. I heard that part of the story. And then you help them do it. And then you help them be sustainable because a lot of consultants they come in, they solve the problem, and they go to the next one, and now the company's holding the project, and they don't have the staff to do it. So you
Right.
give them the whole thing. I've heard this before.
Yeah.
Correct? Am I
Yeah.
correct? Did I hear that all right?
You've got it. That's
Yeah.
right. No.
Here's what I'm hearing. You're adaptable. You your success is about being adaptable to respond to your client needs. That's number one. Number two, you're solving the talent gap. We've got this big talent gap going on in AI and IT, and you're helping people solve that problem. And then you became innovative. You've got this, what do you call it? The Polaris system. You got this flex program that you do, flex staffing model, and you use this AI recruitment capability. So I think that's pretty cool. And then, but what I see another note here about, I was getting ready. You help to actually empower the clients. And I think that's what you were trying to tell me when you said, hey, here's a company that needed both the Microsoft suite as well as the big system ROI UI path suite. Is that what you were trying to tell me?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Every time I talk to you, I learn something. I've learned a bunch of things. So I'm not going to summarize them all now because I've already done that along the way. But I really appreciate you taking the time with us. Is there anything else that you want to cover? Because I know, we've been talking about the highlights, but there's probably some basic fundamental things that may not be as sexy, but they're super important for people to know that you can help them with.
Um, this might be redundant, but we specialize in full suite hyper automation leadership and expertise, intelligent process automation, um, document understanding and communication mining solutions from UiPath,
Yeah.
the Power Platform by Microsoft. Our services also encompass services procurement, that AI recruitment that we talked about, change management, and people upskilling. And, these are the areas critical to bridging that AI talent gap and ensuring that our clients have operational excellence. And so, Alex, in conclusion here, I just want to thank you. I'm honored to join the Technology Executives Club, this national club. I'm really excited and I look forward to contributing to meaningful discussions on intelligent automation and its role in driving organizational excellence and hopefully achieving impact, meaningful impact and outcomes within the greater Chicagoland business community.
Yeah. And
So
and not
thank
only
you.
Chicago and nationwide, because this interview is going to be seen by people really all over the world, but mostly all over the country. So, Scott, first of all, thank you for today. Great session. I learned a lot. I know our viewers and listeners have learned a lot. And we're honored to have you involved in our Board of Advisor program as well. And I'm looking forward to our next conversation.
Alex, have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Scott.